Greetings, Gman faithful. This is your Commander-in-Chief Gman reporting for you another segment of Gman Live Weekly. Now, today we're going to be discussing the options for the Eagles since we're on a bye week now. We're going to be discussing the options of what we should do at quarterback. Stay with Sam Bradford or go with Mark Sanchez. Now, I went back and I watched the tape from the 2014 Panthers game and went back and watched highlights and tape on the Eagles game just the other day where we played them with Bradford as quarterback. And what you see is very interesting. Chip Kelly called some plays for Sam Bradford where he was just throwing down the field. Now, there were a lot of drop balls, and those drop balls were killers. Even if you cut the drop balls in half, they were about 8, 9, around that area. People have it at 10, some people have it at 8. But if you cut them in half, his completion percentage goes from 62% to 65%. So it jumps dramatically. Not to mention, if Josh Huff catches that ball in the end zone, Sam Bradford's quarterback rating goes from like 62% to like 94, 95%. And like I said, you cut out some of those drops. It's like, 4 drop balls instead of 8 or 9. Makes a huge difference. Not to mention, they could potentially have won that game. Now, to all my Carolina fans out there, let me just get this out of the way. All right. My bad. All right. I apologize for getting you guys all fired up. Panthers are a good team. They are. The Eagles still had a shot to win that game late in the game. Remember that. You guys look good defensively. I think the offensive part is where you're going to struggle a little bit. Will you be a first round out? I don't know. You could be. I mean, you could win that first one and lose in the title game. But I think you guys are an up-and-coming team. I'm not going to, say otherwise. Benjamin would have been big had you had him for this season. So, my bad to all the Carolina fans. I got no problem eating crow. So, hey, enjoy it. Enjoy the season. It's fun when you're doing well. Keep pounding. All right. So, now, to start Bradford or not to start Bradford. And here's what I saw. It looks like Chip Kelly was calling some very interesting plays when he had Sanchez in there, or as we like to call him here, the Sanchez. So when he had the Sanchez underneath center, he was actually calling him plays where he would roll out. He also called a couple of read options. He was calling plays where Sam Bradford would do a fake and then run. He also called a couple of quarterback runs. So Sanchez is more mobile than Bradford. If you look at their percentage as far as their completion percentages, they're about the same. And so, I mean, if you look at Sanchez from this point to the end of the year last year, and then from this point to this year with Bradford, they're about the same. The one glaring difference is this, and we all ripped on Sanchez about this last year, but Sanchez actually has a better touchdown to interception ratio than our boy Bradford. Bradford is now 9 touchdowns, 10 picks. As much as we all hated the Sanchez and called him Mr. Butt Fumble and all that other stuff, the Sanchez was not doing this. So, drop balls are big, all right? Now, if he can get back, if Bradford gets back to where he was in Atlanta in the second half, things are different. But Jordan Matthews is just a drop machine. So is Josh Huff, by the way. I mean, he doesn't always grab the ball, and he's not exactly like, playing up this potential. I have no problem if they were just to let Josh Huff go, start over again. There's some good receivers coming out in the free agency, like Alshon Jeffrey. I think that's a dude that the Eagles should really look to. You need a veteran presence there in the wide receiver spot. You need a guy you can rely on, a guy that can stretch the field, go down the field. Shit, I thought we had that. Deshaun Jackson... Macklin, shit. By the way, last year we had Macklin. I wonder if that made a difference, maybe. Our receivers right now, I mean, I'm just going to sum it up. They suck, all right? They suck. And I could be like the Mighty E-Rock and be like, what? They suck. Yeah. That's how he kind of does his thing. But he would be right if he says that in his weekly video. So, the thing that you have to look at is the fact that we're dropping these balls so much tells me your receivers are obviously not doing the job. They're not getting the job done. Had we, like I said, it just cut that in half, and it could possibly have been a win. And your Eagles would be sitting at 4-3 right now. So, and looking good, by the way, in the catbird seat, because you got the Cowboys in 2 weeks. And I don't care if Des Bryant is walking, all right? It's been 7 weeks since he broke his foot. I don't know how effective he's going to be. Not to mention Matt Castle sucks, so I'm not worried about him. And if they go to Whedon, that dude's terrible. He should just realize what he is, Brandon Whedon. Otherwise, I call him Joss Whedon. He should be making films, about the Avengers, not playing football. So, if I was given the option, I'd look at this one of two ways. Do you want to tank the season and get a good draft pick? Because we're 3-4, and who knows where we're going, if we're going anywhere. If you do, if you're of the mindset of, I need to know what Bradford's all about, then you stick with Bradford, and most likely, you end up in a pretty, bad spot. And you're probably getting like a 10th, 11th, 12th pick overall. They're probably going to win 3 more games, so probably at least 6 and 10. And that'll get you like 13 or 14, on the draft order. Now, if you go with Sanchez, I think it gives you a chance to win. And that's really strange. I never thought I'd hear myself say that. When you look at the Eagles' schedule from this point on, you're looking at Cowboys, and I might miss a few here, the Cowboys. You're looking at the Dolphins, the Buccaneers, the Bills, the Cardinals, Detroit, the Redskins, and the Giants. That's your 8 games, and there's one other team I'm missing in there. It's another game that's somewhere in there that I'm missing, because there's 16 games. So there's one other game I'm missing. But if you have Sanchez, in my opinion, Sanchez can beat the Cowboys because he already did it last year. He can beat the Giants, and he can knock off Detroit. He can knock off the Bucks. Probably can knock off the Dolphins. So, and probably the Bills. So you're looking at like Arizona and the Redskins, as potential losses. If Sanchez can rescue your season, possibly you go with Sanchez. What it looks like, what all this stuff really looks like is Chip Kelly does need a guy who can move. I get it that his system really kind of takes the quarterback out of the equation because there's a guy open on every single play, but you got to be able to find that guy, and it just looks like Sanchez is just a more seasoned quarterback. At this point, it's at 7 weeks, Bradford is what Bradford is, or as I like to say, Bradford do what Bradford does. And he doesn't look all that much different than he did in St. Louis before all the ACL tears. I think that's what you got in Bradford. I think you don't re-sign him, obviously. I don't think you need any more to look at going forward. So I will go on record and say switch to the Sanchez. Yes, I know it's like, holy shit, he's gone fucking batshit crazy. But nope, you would be wrong. Because Bradford's kind of like, he's like the strange, uncle that just kind of hangs around. You're kind of like, what the fuck is this dude doing here making these weird comments? He doesn't really have any footing, and you don't know what's coming, from what side, because you don't know what to expect of him week from week. He looked terrible in the Giants game. Then he looked okay against, Carolina, but he looked good in the first half of one game, looked bad in the second half of another game. Then he looked terrible in the first half of the Falcons game, and he looked great in the second half. Look, I can't have a schizophrenic quarterback. So, all right, or like a half-brained quarterback. The Sanchez never did that. Sanchez was always consistent. Now, sometimes he was consistently bad, but there were games where he actually played pretty well, and his numbers were much better than Bradford. He was never a 9 touchdown to 10 interception guy. So, plus he looked good against the Texans when he came out, and he looked good against the Panthers. Looked great against the Cowboys. He had some games where he looked great. I can't say that about Bradford. So, at least up to 7 weeks in this season. So, that's the story from here. Go with the Sanchez if you want to rescue your season. And if you want to know anything else, put it in the comments below. Anything that you want to know. and I'll be happy to get back to you. And otherwise, I look forward to, I'm going to be putting out a quarterback from college prospects video next week or later this week, possibly end of the weekend. And we can discuss that. And some of the names we're going to talk about there is going to be like Hackenberg and Brissett and Goff and Cook and Prescott and Cody Kessler, Paxton Lynch. So we're going to throw a lot of names around. We'll break it down. So, like I said, anything you want to know, put it in the comments below. And if you like what you see and you want to see more, click right here to see more. Pow!